I'm Billy S, welcome back to the channel. Today we're sharpening our gilded sword, readying our menagerie of masks, and leaping into the fray, as I rank the bosses of The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. The shortest of the 3D Zeldas, Majora's Mask clocks in with 4 dungeons and 5 main boss fights, which means my videos on this topic are going to be short and sweet, just how I like it. I've had experience with both the original game and the remake, but for this video, the footage is of the Nintendo 64 version captured via the Nintendo Switch. Though, because Majora's Mask comes baked in with boss rematches due to the time loop system, I was able to boot up my 3DS copy of the game and fight the bosses there on my old save file. So while I am ranking the N64 boss fights, I will explain the changed mechanics on the 3DS and my thoughts on them in each entry. Without further ado, all 5 boss battles in Majora's Mask, ranked. Let me know your favourite down below. At number 5, we have the giant masked insect, Twin Mold, the boss of the Stone Tower Temple. In terms of spectacle, I think this fight has always managed to stick the landing, as you appear in this desert expanse, and these massive creatures burst from the ground, flying above you. You are an ant, they are from beyond your comprehension. In the N64, you're supposed to use the Giant's Mask, which you obtain in a room prior to the boss store, and with it you grow to their size, allowing Link to slash at the pair with his sword. Their weak points are the face and tail, and doing enough damage to either end will eventually kill each worm in turn. And that's it. The boss fight is less a challenge and more a cinematic set piece designed to make Link feel powerful as he battles the Twin Mold to come out on top. As long as you don't leave the arena by sinking into the quicksand at the edges, you'll be fine. I do dislike that the Twin Molds don't actively target Link at any point during the fight. They feel very passive, but to each their own. On the 3DS, the fight is drastically changed, now containing 2 distinct phases. The first has you attacking the blue Twin Mold with arrows in your regular form, as you hit very obvious eye targets while the red Twin Mold attempts to crash into you at every pass. I dislike the inclusion of the weak point eyes in the 3DS game, but I do appreciate that this part of the fight lets us experience what it's like to face Twin Mold without the Giant's Mask. After the first one dies, Link then obtains the Giant's Mask in the 3DS version from a chest and grows to giant height. Only here, he doesn't use his sword like on the N64, he only punches. You have to hit the Twin Mold as it tries to attack you, with enough hits causing it to be stunned to the ground. The issue is that the boss's health resets every time it goes underground, so you have to know the boss's attack patterns perfectly. Even then, it feels needlessly punishing, and I was stuck for 15 minutes trying to get the right timing, because anytime Link takes damage, he falls to the ground and takes so long to get back up that you're not going to have enough time to do that damage to Twin Mold. While the N64 was a fight that went too quickly and didn't have any depth, the 3DS was a fight that went on for too long and had too many ideas crammed into it. It's a shame, I really want to like this boss, but it just doesn't stand out. At number 4, we have the gargantuan masked fish, Gyorg, the boss of the Great Bay Temple. Another boss that has its haters in the Zelda community. I always felt like an outsider when I was younger, as I really enjoyed Gyorg's design, and I felt the fight was fun and surprisingly challenging. Upon revisiting the game now, I still firmly believe the N64 version of the fight is a lot of fun. I love the level of aggression that Gyorg displays. It's so different to anything else in the Zelda series because the moment he senses you in the water, he's coming, and you better be quick at getting back on land. The goal is to stun Gyorg while he's in the water, either with arrows or the Zora cutters, then hop down and ram into Gyorg with the Zora electric barrier. This works fine. I like that if you take too long to stun Gyorg, he'll ram into the central platform, possibly knocking you into the water, and the stun timer after he has been hit is just long enough to give players a chance to harm the boss. The issue is that Georg immediately recovers upon you doing damage, and he doesn't give the player time to get away from him after the stun, so you'll often take damage when you feel like you've been doing everything right. It's like having no invincibility frames, needlessly brutal. He can also summon baby Georgs that you can destroy with your electric barrier, and they drop hearts if you need them. But that's it for the N64, a solid fight. The 3DS version though is a slog. The Zora swimming is neutered so you can only move fast while using your magic meter, and while the phase 1 is easier, requiring you to fire arrows at Georg until he stuns and reveals a big eyeball, the phase 2 is painful. You're forced to play as Zora Link, and you have to get Georg to swallow landmines to stun him. The issue is that Georg can be very finicky about when he'll use his inhale attack, and the landmines in the arena appear at random from the holes in the floor, so this phase can take a lot of time. That's the problem with the 3DS bosses. They've been edited to the point where their phases are tedious. They've been given all these ideas which seem fine on paper, but feel monotonous and awkward in practice. It's such a shame because the 3DS version controls like a dream outside of the awful Zora and Deku Link changes they made, but I just don't vibe with the boss changes. At number 3, we have the masked jungle warrior, Adolwa, boss of the Woodfall Temple. Now, let's tackle the 3DS version first, because to be quite frank, there isn't a lot to say. Adolwa's been given a gigantic eyeball on the back of his head, which is the clear weak point. You have to use the Deku flowers littered across the arena to shoot yourself up and over the boss. Then drop a Deku seed atop it to stun him, allowing you to attack his weak spot, rinse and repeat, kill a few minions, boom. Boss fight concluded. Didn't even use the dungeon item to defeat it. But it gives Deku Link a little time to shine. Overall, meh. But then you play the N64 version, and Adolwa is one of the hardest first bosses in the series. Majora's Mask knew that players would have to go through a lot to reach the first dungeon, and thus, they don't hold your hand. Adolwa has no real glaring weakness, and instead can be tackled in a variety of ways. He has a lot of close-range melee attacks that stop you from getting close, and can block your arrows with a shield from afar, which means you have to think strategically to get yourself that damage. You can wait for him to attack and shoot him with an arrow right before the attack connects. You can pelt him with Deku seeds from on high as Deku Link, which also stuns him briefly. You can try rolling around his side without Z targeting to break through his defenses. When he summons swarms of flies, you can use the bombs in the room to attract them to the flames, which gets them away from you. You can kill his minions relatively easily, and his attacks are blockable with a shield, allowing you to slowly approach if that's your taste. He's got so many attacks, from jumping, to dashing, to Beyblade spinning. It's so impressive. There are many ways to achieve victory, and so many attacks he can throw out at you, I don't think any other Zelda boss from this era remotely comes close. But my top 2 bosses are just a little bit more fun for me to replay, and ultimately the fun factor is what I care about most. Did you know we're trying to reach 35,000 subscribers by the end of the year? After the rest of this video, consider parrying that subscribe button to help us out with that goal. Or consider becoming a channel member. It's $4.99, you get early access to future videos, and shoutouts at the end of each video as well. Links in the description. Back to the list. At number 2, we have Majora's Mask, the final boss of the game. I've included all 3 forms as part of this one entry because they all add to each other to create one of the most tonally insane fights in the series, perhaps second only to Zant from Twilight Princess. The first phase involves needing to stun the mask to do damage, either by firing an arrow at its back, which can be really tricky with how little it shows its weak point off, or by using a spin attack as it attempts to saw you in half. Do enough damage and the boss remains will join the fight, which you can vanquish with a couple of arrow shots. Majora, meanwhile, will be using an energy beam which you can reflect back at it via the mirror shield, and doing enough damage will end phase 1. Very mysterious, very ominous, and very well paced. Phase 2, Majora's incarnation, is the exact opposite. It's fucking insanity, with Majora growing arms, legs, and a cute singular eye before going off to do every dance move known to mankind. There is nothing scarier than a boss moonwalking towards you with the intent to kill before canning away. You have to approach the boss while guarding against its crazy attacks until you're within sword range, upon which you slash Majora, do damage, rinse repeat. It's the easiest phase of the fight, but the music that ramps up the zaniness and the animations on display from Incarnation are so worth the experience. Majora's Wrath is the final form, gaining the ability to whip like the best of them. The range that Majora's Wrath has is insane. Genuinely, I was halfway across the arena and getting hit by those whips and ropes, and damn. Now, I did decide to use the Fierce Deities mask towards the end of my footage here, just because I wanted to show it off, completely forgetting that there was an entire move I didn't let Majora's Wrath use that involved spinning tops that follow you around the arena. But either way, for what it's worth, I love the level of difficulty the last form brings, and I think its oppressive nature makes it an absolute blast to overcome. I don't always think Zelda nails its final bosses, but Majora is almost certainly one of the best in the series, and a fight I really don't mind replaying any time. However, the most fun fight in the game is my number one. At number 1, we have the masked mechanical monster, Got, the boss of Snowhead Temple. This mechanical bull requires the use of the Goron mask to put down, as you have to chase the bull around the circular arena using the Goron's rolling ability. You have to ram into the boss, which does damage, and every now and then will also knock the boss over. This allows you to turn back into human form to deal sword slashes, or just continue rolling against him in Goron form. Either way, I love that this boss is all about pursuing your target, racing after him, going over ramps, dodging rocks, and falling spikes. Dealing with Got's various electric attacks as his health gets lower and lower too, the visual storytelling of seeing Got beginning to smoke as he takes more and more damage, the way the chase gets more hectic as he gets more desperate to survive, but you can also use a well-timed bomb to stun the boss too from the entrance. No Goron mask required, though you'll be taking some of the fun away in that sense. It's just a great time, and as one of the bosses you're very likely to refight for the Don Giro Frog Choir side quest, I can confirm it's just as fun the second or third time. Then the 3DS version decided to ruin the pacing of the fight, much to my annoyance. Here the boss stuns much quicker, and every time it falls you have to get out of Goron form, target a giant eye on the boss's back, and attack it to do major damage. The fight is just slower paced, and there are moments where Got will just pull ahead out of nowhere so he can set up for a mandatory electric attack combo which the N64 version never did. If you kept up with the boss, you wouldn't have to deal with certain attacks, so it felt like you were being rewarded for that skill. On the 3DS, the boss is more set in its patterns, so at certain points, it'll just gain a burst of speed so it can have time to set up attacks, and that just doesn't feel very fun to me. Though I vastly prefer how Goron Link controls on 3DS, so it's a weird trade-off. Either way, Got is the most pure fun fight in the game, and I wish we'd get more bosses these days that take advantage of more abstract concepts like a pursuit or a chase. Well done, Got. Well done. And that's my list. Which Majora's Mask boss is your favourite? Let me know down below, and be sure to parry that subscribe button so you can stay up to date on all my future videos. My social medias are on screen now, feel free to follow where you feel comfortable. I recommend my Twitter, it's the best place to keep up with me. And a massive shout out to all of my channel members who are supporting me here on YouTube. It's $4.99 a month, you get early access to all my videos, and you get a shout out at the end of each video and in the description. You are amazing and you're helping me continue this job that I love. I'll see you guys next time when we tackle the Majora's Mask dungeons. Adios.